every day. Swear we gon' die every day. They said Jesus gon' save us. Well, I know we die if we wait. I know we die if he can't. They tell us we black, but we ain't. Aboriginal, native, yeah, we gon' die every day. Cause we don't know where we came. We been here, lived here, open borders, got deported, fought for rights. Kidnapped, bitch slapped, blacked out, covered up, washed white. Drugged up, slugged up, beat bread, left for dead, fuck your life. It's all a plan, kill your man, take your land, slave your kids, rape your wife. Why y'all look so mad if all this shit I say is true? Why y'all look so mad if all this shit happened to you? White man quick to tell you was a slave, nothing before. But he himself only been free since 1840. Young recording, I'm an ancient Egyptian from Atlantis, headed straight for Canada, that's Israel. Nothing fake about me, no capping, rapping, I just fed the ink and I'm digital. No caveman, I'm original. Kentucky fried, extra Christian, wear a lot of gold cause my family history. I'm the guy to know, I bring death to history. Swear we gon' die every day. They said Jesus gon' save us. Well, I know we die if we wait. I know we die if he can't. They tell us we black, but we ain't. Aboriginal, native, yeah, we gon' die every day. Cause we don't know where we came. Swear we gon' die every day. They said Jesus gon' save us. Well, I know we die if we wait. I know we die if he can't. They tell us we black, but we ain't. Aboriginal, native, yeah, we gon' die every day. Cause we don't know where we came. Power, only respect power. Respect power. What's been said can't be said no louder. Stand for something, or you die a coward. They bombed our churches, set our kids on fire. Police keep erasing cause they backed up by the nation. Nation ain't complaining cause the Indians still hanging. Comanche, Sioux, Apache, ain't no history in blackness. No reason for that chatting if you bitch up when it's action. AR on my body, tell the bro to grab the shot. He loading up that new edition, finna hit him with this bobby. I can't shoot the shit, but 30 shouldn't miss. 54 races, 100 for his click. Anytime in prison, they don't want the shit. They don't want the problems. Snitches get the stick. Talking all that hatred, end up running like a bitch. Quick to call the laws, quick to play the bitch. Swear we gon' die every day. They said Jesus gon' save us. Well, I know we die if we wait. I know we die if he can't. They tell us we black, but we ain't. Aboriginal, native, yeah, we gon' die every day. Cause we don't know where we came. Swear we gon' die every day. They said Jesus gon' save us. Well, I know we die if we wait. I know we die if he can't. They tell us we black, but we ain't. Aboriginal, native, yeah, we gon' die every day. Cause we don't know where we came.
Rest in peace, Breonna Taylor, man. John Brooks. Let me talk to my people, man. It's been long overdue. Every time I took a L, man, I learned life. Where I'm from, you could get left if you don't turn right. Nowadays, you earn stripes, trying to burn pipes. Back in the days, we earned stripes, trying to earn rights. Look, I ain't trying to preach if you don't want to listen, but I advise you to listen if you love your children. Cause in this world, you could get stopped by a cop, and your kids might never know if they gonna see you or not. It's real. We unprotected and we unrespected. Rest in peace to Bree Taylor, hope y'all got the message. Our lives never matter, keep letting it happen. So it makes you think that it matters when you punch a ballot. We don't need equality, we need autonomy. We need our own governments, not apologies. We need our land back, not new technology. Aboriginal history, not new ideology. I ain't saying put the guns down, we need violence. Cops kill us, all the gangsters better not be silent. We need to sit around and plan, we don't need riots. I grip my gun every time I see police sirens. Can't go to war with my brother if he weak-minded. You ain't a thug, you a warrior that need guidance. The Gullah Wars and the Haitian Revolution showed our ancestors really got violent for solutions, reparation, restitutions, preparation. Start recruiting. BLM is not our movement, but I get why it's confusing. Either you winning or you losing. We won't lose for long. So black man and black woman, what's taking you so long? Unite. And when I say unite, I'm talking about strictly autonomy. You know what I'm saying? We need to all have self-government. You know what I'm saying? We need to all come together as people and do for self. Period. If you ain't trying to do for self and you keep trying to depend on somebody, they're gonna show you what you do when you depend on your enemies. You know? Drop bricks. No, what up?
Why didn't you pay for this beat though?
Just get her, man. Ever since a youngin', I've been running, getting to the cake. Dog, you ain't 100, this 100, let me demonstrate. If she ain't got brains, then I ain't tryna penetrate. And if you ain't a stand-up needy, you could get your dinner ate. I ain't buying all that real shit, dog, you benefit. Took her on a dinner date, now we on the interstate. Might be a rookie in the game, but I've been a great. And we about autonomy, dog, we ain't tryna integrate. Man, we ain't tryna integrate. Was broke back then, now the youngest seeing different cake. We don't go off feelings, we just make sure that the business straight. And if you ain't an intellect, then you can't get a penetrate. Local need you, now I'm getting love all in different states. Gotta need you, if you ain't got scars, then you can't relate. Preach the niggas, I'm just trying to make sure that my people straight. Woke nigga in a sleep world, trying to keep awake. Man, I'm just trying to keep awake. Bodies dropping in my city, damn Perry, keep awake. How another black man, your op, make it make sense. When the system got y'all niggas going through the same shit. Ever since a youngin', I've been running, getting to the cake. Dog, you ain't 100, this 100, let me demonstrate. If she ain't got brains, then I ain't tryna penetrate. And if you ain't a stand-up needy, you could get your dinner ate. I ain't buying all that real shit, dog, you benefit. Took her on a dinner date, now we on the interstate. Might be a rookie in the game, but I've been a great. And we about autonomy, dog, we ain't tryna integrate. Say you shoot, what's your resume? Let me see the proof. Drilling shit, where your gang at? Let me see your troops. Getting money, pull up stunting on them. Let me see your coup. Genocide, they pointing weapons at you. You don't even shoot. Real nigga, how you say you real? You don't love your peeps. Family man, grind, feed your family, nigga. Fuck the streets, sliding on each other when the government the enemy. If we come together, we got power, nigga, in the beef. For real, nigga, in the beef. You ain't getting money, ain't no reason to be in the streets. Striving to be legends, we ain't trying to be a memory. And now you ain't my nigga, you my Niji Aborigine. Ever since a youngin', I've been running, getting to the cake. Dog, you ain't 100, this 100, let me demonstrate. If she ain't got brains, then I ain't tryna penetrate. And if you ain't a stand-up needy, you could get your dinner ate. I ain't buying all that real shit, dog, you benefit. Took her on a dinner date, now we on the interstate. Might be a rookie in the game, but I've been a great. And we about autonomy, dog, we ain't tryna integrate. We ain't tryna integrate with none of y'all. Autonomy over equality. Just get her, man. Ever since a youngin', I've been running, getting to the cake. Dog, you ain't 100, this 100, let me demonstrate. If she ain't got brains, then I ain't tryna penetrate. And if you ain't a stand-up needy, you could get your dinner ate. I ain't buying all that real shit, dog, you benefit. Took her on a dinner date, now we on the interstate. Might be a rookie in the game, but I've been a great. And we about autonomy, dog, we ain't tryna integrate. Man, we ain't tryna integrate. Was broke back then, now the youngest seeing different cake. We don't go off feelings, we just make sure that the business straight. And if you ain't an intellect, then you can't get a penetrate. Local need you, now I'm getting love all in different states. Gotta need you, if you ain't got scars, then you can't relate. Preach the niggas, I'm just trying to make sure that my people straight. Woke nigga in a sleep world, trying to keep awake. Man, I'm just trying to keep awake. Bodies dropping in my city, damn Perry, keep awake. How another black man, your op, make it make sense when the system got y'all niggas going through the same shit. Ever since a youngin', I've been running, getting to the cake. Dog, you ain't 100, this 100, let me demonstrate. If she ain't got brains, then I ain't tryna penetrate. And if you ain't a stand-up need you could get your dinner ate. I ain't buying all that real shit, dog, you been a fake. Took her on a dinner date, now we on the interstate. Might be a rookie in the game, but I've been a great. And we about autonomy, dog, we ain't tryna integrate. Say you shoot, what's your resume? Let me see the proof. Drilling shit, where your gang at? Let me see your troops. Getting money, pull up stunting on them. Let me see your coup. Genocide, they pointing weapons at you. You don't even shoot. Real nigga, how you say you real? You don't love your peeps. Family man, Ron, feed your family, nigga. Fuck the streets. Sliding on each other when the government the enemy. If we come together, we got power, nigga, in the beef. For real, nigga, in the beef. You ain't getting money, ain't no reason to be in the streets. Striving to be legends, we ain't trying to be a memory. And now you ain't my nigga, you my Niji Aborigine. Ever since a youngin', I've been running, getting to the cake. Dog, you ain't 100, this 100, let me demonstrate. If she ain't got brains, then I ain't trying to penetrate. And if you ain't a stand-up need you could get your dinner ate. I ain't buying all that real shit, dog, you been a fake. Took her on a dinner date, now we on the interstate. Might be a rookie in the game, but I've been a great. And we about autonomy, dog, we ain't trying to integrate. We ain't trying to integrate with none of y'all. Autonomy over equality.
All praises to the Most High. I've been raising my vibration, yoga meditation, just sticking to the basics, living in the matrix. It's cynical and crazy, but I've been swimming in amazement, writing all these verses, reversing all my curses, walking in my purpose, doing it on purpose. I'm sure, I'm certain, I'm pure, not perfect. I rise in service of God, I'm a servant, take me high. All praises to the Most High. I've been hustling my whole life. I know the struggle, I know both sides. I'm at your neck like a bow tie. I don't know death, I'm pro-life. I cannot stress, I'm so love and so light and so bright. And me and God are so tight, the light of my life. I'm reaching new heights while I'm reciting my wife. I'm going bravely. Oh, I'm doing greatly. Life's amazing. I guess it is what you make it. This is prayer. This is affirmation. I've been healing. I've been feeling. I've been raising my vibration. I've been raising my vibration. I've been patient. I've been waiting. I've been patient, y'all. I've been raising my vibration. I've been healing. I've been praying. I've been raising. I've been raising my vibration. I've been patient. I've been waiting. I've been stacking. I've been saving. I've been healing. I've been praying. Meditating, affirmations, I've been raising my vibration. I've been hella patient, meditating, lighting, saging, elevating. That's amazing. Dedication, self-preservation. I'm a walking revelation for every agent in the matrix. I'm a king, I'm a lion, I'm a giant, I'm Messiah, I'm in Zion. I'm prolific, I'm so gifted. I see the vision in my third eye, it's so vivid. I've been raising my vibration. I've been patient, I've been waiting. I've been patient, y'all. I've been raising my vibration. I've been healing, I've been praying. I've been raising my vibration. I've been patient, I've been waiting. I've been stacking, I've been saving, I've been healing, I've been praying. Meditating. Affirmations, I've been raising my vibration.
Once neglected, now protected, most respected and reflected. Yeah, I've been raising my vibration, healing the hurt, doing the work, never revert. To whack vibes that came first. Peace in your mind, peace in your soul, peace in your home. Keeping it real enough to grow, that's how you'll know. You're raising your vibration, that's how you'll know. Yeah, you're raising your vibration. Transfiguration, out of stagnation. She remembered who she was, that's a daily affirmation. Don't be mistaken, you're still evolving and amazing. Rebirth and genesis, just like a chrysalis. Journey in grace, protecting your space. Trust your intuition. In the liminal space, your ancestors been waiting. Your higher self been praying day by day. Keep raising your vibration.
I've been raising my vibration. I've been patient, I've been waiting. I've been patient, y'all. I've been raising my vibration. I've been healing, I've been praying. I've been raising my vibration. I've been patient, I've been waiting. I've been stacking, I've been saving, I've been healing, I've been praying. Meditating, affirmations, I've been raising my vibration.
Yeah, I be really tripping sometimes. Yeah. It's different. These niggas be having me hella bent. Real different. Lord, please forgive them. What you say, yeah, you know I walk. Father, please, valley of shadow of death, forgive them. That's what you told me. Yeah. Feeling like I can't breathe. Honestly, friends turn to enemies with jealousy. I've been woke so long watching these niggas sleep. Everybody trying to get a hold of me. Do something, everybody trying to prove something. Robbing Peter just to pay Paul. I can't be around these niggas that ain't never lose nothing. We think different, things starting to really seem different. Everything that I was raised on, like honesty and integrity, start disappearing. Hey, you gotta watch what you be doing, the God's cheering. He'll know it's not a threat, but when karma come, he gon' lay it back and let her do something to you. I try not to overstep. The human in me gotta cry to him, I got nothing left. For they know not what they do. They don't know nothing. Everything you do, it will come back to you. I got my heart, but it's shattered, broken pieces. Damn, forgive me. You'll make all these niggas my footstool. That's what you told me. Yeah. I gotta watch my step. Give it till it's nothing left. Yeah. I like to watch real close what a nigga say under his breath. Yeah. Whether bad or good, they talking about me building rep. Like Jane's a diva, Jane is solid, she got problems, I'll be honest, yeah, I got some issues. Got an attitude to do some damage. Can't be too nice to these hoes. You disclose your business and they get to telling. If you buying and these niggas selling, I think I'm too real for these label niggas. I be close to my reverend. I'm just trying to get to heaven, amen. Or the thought thereof. Lord knows I got some questions. I know he ain't make no mistakes, but why his people so damn reckless? We ain't really got a lot of time. We all gonna be gone in a second. I'm just really trying to do right, cause I know I'm far from perfection. Forgive all of the tears I cried, all the tears. They know that they killed me. Down the times I lost. When they talk about me, forgive. They turn on me, forgive them. They switch on me, forgive them. That I'm trying to heal some things in my mind, in my body. Forgive me. Forgive them for me. While I work on myself, forgive them for me.
Won't smoke me. Won't smoke me.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. It's another Sunday in the books, boy. It's hot outside. You heard me. Ooh, it's hot outside. It's almost 9 o'clock at night. And it's still in the 90s. Ooh, shout out to 9 Ether, by the way. It's pulling up on us in a minute. It's hot outside. It's that summertime vibe. Jason months. Yeah. It's your boy Mac Ether. Obviously, this is the Autonomous Party. It's a Thriller campaign. It's a campaign. The campaign is called Thriller. The harsh reality is to live life autonomously. Obviously, shout out to all my indigenous black folk out there of the Americas. Shout out to all my blackamoors out there, my El Negros. You hear me? Obviously the Maroons, though. Shout out to my Maroons. Yeah, Esther Lucian Macario. Shout out to my Muskogee. You already know what it is. It's South Florida style, 954. Shout out to Lauderdale. Shout out to Miami. Shout out West Palm Beach. Rolling Loud was this weekend, just passed. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, right now. You know what I mean? It's still popping right now. The whole weekend's been crazy. It's hot outside and they out there in that heat. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, tap in with that if you know what it is. Later on tonight, it's going to be popping. If you're in the city, you already know where to go. Tap in with. You know what I'm saying? Get there early, though, because trust me, this time of the year, it's been going on annually. So, if you see the event popping, you might want to be where you need to be ahead of time. You dig? Indeed. You know what I mean? Music Media Lounge, though, of course, that's where we at. We live inside this booth. That's how I like to say it. We in the booth. It's fire in the booth. Gonna need an extinguisher. You know what I'm saying? Word up. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody that been subscribing, liking the videos, sharing the information, and tapping into what we got going on with the party. You already know what it is. Shout out to Baron P, Gotta Green, Super Blaze, and everybody of the Social Club, Maroonville. You already know what it is. The first Sunday, Aboriginal Wall Street in September. We'll be back. Shout out my man, Master Ether, the Money Corner. And we'll be back. Shout out to my man Seb. You know, obviously, we're going to get him to pull back up on us. And others, we got actually going to be tapping in with the aggregation of what we be talking about on the Wall Street vibes. You know what I mean? Shout out to all my Aboriginal peoples. Like Malcolm said. You know what I mean? Pre-Adamite type shit. No, but real talk, though. God agree. When you're ready, I'm ready to pull up. We can get to it. You know what I'm talking about? You're going to have to stay drinking in this heat. You know what I'm saying? Baron P, if you want to make you a margarita, you know, you're more than welcome. Okay. I got the margarita mix and everything. You know what I'm talking about? So anybody that wants to, you know what I mean? Don't ever get, you know what I'm saying, want to tell people, you know what I'm saying, we passionate about what we doing and how we do it and what we do and why we do it. You know what I'm saying? I got the passion tatted right here. You feel me? It's right there. It's tatted. Got the flower of life on me and everything too. Yo, God, the shirt you wearing right now is matching my tattoo. You feel me? You see that? You know, remember back in the day, I had that orange with a white shirt with the hibiscus flower. You know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to you with the shirt matching the tat. You feel me? With the passion of life, getting me a flower. I need my flowers while I'm living. So I make sure it's on me at all times. I'm gonna be buried with my flowers. You heard me? Yeah, for sure. And matter of fact, yeah, pull them up. let's just go ahead and do it with him. You know what I mean? You get the party. We could do this together. We could do this together. What up, Nine? Shout out to Nine Ether, our guest, and for the build tonight. You hear me? And everybody that's pulled up on us. Nine, can you hear me? Make sure we live before we go in. Let me know if you're straight. You with me, Nine? Can you hear me?
Yo, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good. Now we good.
Okay,
sure.
okay. Rock out, rock out. Honor to everybody. Honor
For
to
sure.
the time of the party. Mac, Ether, God of Green, Kofi. Everybody that's out in the chat. Take them into it, bro.
Well, yeah, you know, we've been doing now we've been doing the series and they got sparked. So I want to give some people the backdrop. They might not know how we even got inspired to do the El Negro series because I have to take them back to the intro, which is, you know, a couple months maybe now, because how we have our show programming, we couldn't do all this back to back. And, you know, we want to make sure it stays in sequence though. So just quick synopsis. You know, we would be on Clubhouse and, you know, folks be saying, you know, that the word Negro and the Indian are synonymous with each other. And we were speaking with some folks and telling them that as much as we understand when the indigenous folk of this land, the Aboriginal people of this land got put underneath the term Negro, but there is an origin story to the Negro that is foreign to what we call the Americas. See what I'm saying? And there's a guaranteed lineage of people who have had this term applied to them prior to Columbus even being born. You see what I'm saying? Prior to a lot of the kings in the 15th century being born. You know what I'm talking about? And you've been able to go back past even the time frame we got with Yaya El Negro, because that's the person that somebody got, you know, kind of triggered by, emotional. You know what I'm saying? I would say, though, through the sources and the information that we put out, hopefully anybody that's missed the intro to the El Negro, the part one, shout out to Monte because he jumped in and we did the Sons of Africa joint, and within the El Negro we broke down that California reparations, and then obviously Nineth has been giving us the dialogue of this lineage of people that particularly are tied to the term El Negro. You know what I'm saying? So we could be very specific about what El Negro we are talking about, as far as it being also used amongst other people that were also on that boat with Columbus, the Nino brothers. You know what I'm talking about? They were El Negros too. See what I'm saying? Just to put that out there. But I want to just make sure for this conversation and the sake of what we're doing, I want to go ahead and put out some definitions so people know. We always make sure we give people some definitions before we go in. And I kind of know you're going to walk it down once you walk in, but I want to walk you into something and add a little other spice to it, because I know you, when I let you rock, you're going to be rocking for a minute. So, God of Green, can we get the first definition for El Negro Part 3, please? Negro. We go to the top, let them see it. Wikitory, we're using Wikitory just as an example. We're going to give you a couple of different ones across the board that's synonymous terms with the term El Negro. And obviously, you know, I'm going to highlight, because, you know, I've been catching a lot of flack on Clubhouse and other places for using this term that Obama got rid of. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm trying to replace it and go precede it with the term. So I walked it down, you know what I mean? And I'm going to use the term Blackamoor. So when I say Blackamoor, the indigenous people of the Americas, which I have in my lineage, and my Blackamoor lineage that came from somewhere else, I could distinctly say they're different people. So you won't get them confused, because I know the Negro thing has people confused, right? So English, borrowed from Spanish and Portuguese Negro. And as we started with the series, we let you know that King John was dealing with Yaya El Negro, and that's why, you know, it goes back to the Portuguese, but way earlier than the 15th century that people might not understand. Now, once again, it says skinny black, obviously black synonymous with it, of uncertain origin, but we got the origin. It's just, but possibly from the Proto-Indian European neg. You know, is that nigga on that nag? Either ways, though, doublet, Noir, like when you see the black codes, the French, they said the noir codes. You see what I'm saying? So you see noirs right there. You know what I mean? We're going to come down a little bit more. You know what I mean? We're going to see, there it goes, the pronunciation. You should be able to get nigga, negro, however you want to say it. And then Negro again comes back down, dated, offensive. We know it's offensive. Once again, we know Obama got rid of it. Hint, hint, right? So now we come down a little bit more. And then it says black or dark brown in color. I would say that's going to be connected to swarthy. We're going to get into that in a minute. But W.E. Du Bois is actually somebody we have, in this link. And it's interesting because obviously he's tied to a lot of things in that time period. You know about him, research him, especially dealing with Negroes, right? Negress, which is a feminine term. Negroid is more what they call the actual stock of people that, like they like to say a race, a Negroid race, right? Slide down, God. I just want to make sure we're going to run through this real quick. You make sure they get this, though. Put this on the screen for them. You know what I mean? Put this on the screen for them. Slide up a little bit more because it's going to get to a word I want to get to. Oh, there it is. Negro. All right, dated now offensive, a person of black African ancestry. They make sure they let you know it's African, right? So in the same situation, though, usage notes, see above, and it says synonyms. A synonym. See, I hope people understand homophones and all the different terms in English, right? I know I wasn't the best in English back in the day growing up, but I've gotten better over the years. And blackamoor is highlighted right there. So the Negro and the blackamoor are synonymous, you know what I mean? And obviously the term blackamoor in a region we would call Europe, north of what we would call Spain, Portugal, and areas of North Africa, and even in North Africa, this term blackamoor is being used. A person of color, like free people of color, colored persons. This is hyponyms and all that. Hyponyms, people like see hyponyms is Afro-American and all that. So you see all the things that kind of go with it. We're gonna keep moving. House Negroes, Bay Negroes, etc. You know what I mean? So this is Wikitoria letting you know. Oh, we went over. Shout out to last week if you checked it out. Mulatto King. You know what I mean? The Mulatto Kings. Excuse me. That's a little hidden jewel. You need to go watch that real quick though, and tap in and get with us about it. We're gonna highlight it next week in a room. We're gonna keep it moving though. We did though. Funny enough, underneath the blackamoor, it is connected and showing that the mulatto, the octoroon, and the quadroon is connected to this term Negro because it's actually connected to what we call the one drop rule. You feel me? And that's something they ain't gonna go around. You feel me now? Now I'm gonna move on to anything you want to say about this before I keep moving to the next slide. I'm just trying to get through them real quick.
Nah, keep going.
Okay, give me the next one, God. We're going to give them another clip. I got clips. I came loaded. I want to make sure you understand this. Ain't going to be no confusion. Because when we, have these conversations, we could be on the same page, right? So, El Negro series is here to do that for you. You did. Some people might not like it, but we're just going to show the sources and going to just debunk them. If you got something to, further us on our education or enlightenment on the spectrum of things we speak on, then you'll be able to let us know. Now, we've showed this one right here before. And obviously, we just showed the Wikitoria. So being that this one right here is from over there in what we call the UK. You know what I'm saying? This is their dictionary. We've showed this to you before in one of this. I can't remember. We do so many joints, right? But Maureen, and that's, that's their way of saying more. You know what I mean? Up there in them areas and how they would, spell it. Pronunciation might be different, right? But either way, you're letting you know it's of a Moorish and Moorish race. And then look what it says B next to Moor. It says dark and swarthy. And then right there, look at C, a Moor, blackamoor, a Negro. That kind of look like what Wikitoria was just saying, ain't it? Like they all kind of correlate. They're different sources, but they're all saying that, these Negro over there and the blackamoor are some the Moorish people and etc. They're swarthy, dark-skinned people, as we all should know. You know what I mean? And they're going to give you some time frames. So if you want to understand 1504, 1570, these different time, but they're using the word and, etc. You know what I mean? So I wanted to we've already showed you this before. So we just want to slide through that one more time to show you that their dictionary is correlating to what Wikitoria is saying about what precedes the word Negro in the regions of what we would call Europe. You know what I mean? And that the word swarthy and blackamoor are synonymous with each other. Would you say that based off of the show? We're on the same page? All right. We're going to go ahead and move to the next source. Like I said, we're going to keep it moving. I ain't even trying to hold nobody. I just want to get to the facts of the matter. You know what I mean? So we're going to show you a couple sources and just keep it moving before we go into the breakdown of some lineages of some El Negros tonight, featuring, 9 Ether. I'm going to let them give you that work. Hold on. There's a couple things I want to just highlight before we go into that, though. I even found a lexicon concordance, a Greek dictionary. See, I went to the dictionaries. I caught myself being on some Jack Forbes, you know what I mean? In the 7th chapter when he broke down mulatto. It says Ethiop. See, now when we get into the East Africa and parts of West Africa, See, the term prior to the Portuguese using the term Negro as a descriptor, or even the word more as a descriptor, the people in that region as a descriptor, adjective, outside of people knowing as a, a jurisdictional place, calling things Ethiopia. Ethiopia definitely is a region, Abyssinia, East Africa, right? It is definitely a jurisdiction of its own. So there's other groups that are in those areas that might self-identify differently from that term. But overall, this term is still dealing with a complexion and a breakdown of a complexion. As you see, Ethiopian equals black. So it was a term overall used. Now we're going to come down a little bit more. See the orange part right there? So as it says in the Greek English lexicon, and it's going to say, scorch, and then it's going to say the face from, go look up the G3700, and it says Ethiopian. And then after that, right after that, it says as a blackamoor. That's some shit, huh? So they're making that when they say descriptively, in East Africa, they might say Ethiopia, right? But if you get up in North Africa, or what we call Europe, they're using the term blackamoor, which is still going to be, they mean that both them groups are swarthy people, right? Just to make sure that, we understand that they Tawny or they swarthy people in these regions because they correlate to each other based off of description, And this is what the definition is showing. I don't know, where people might get confused about it, but however the case might be, I'm going to show it, put it on the screen for you. That's what we do. That's how we do it here. And if, again, you got something to show me differently, I would love to see it. You know how we do it. We always ask you to come pull up on us, right? So here we go. That's my next source. I went through three different dictionary joints. 3. The European one, the lexicon. I got one. Give me another one. What's next? I'm throwing my clips. I got to get them out of here. Got to get them in and get them out. I got to get in, get it out. You know what I'm saying? My ice done melted. That's how hot it is. Ice done melted. But this margarita's still good, though. All right. Oh, Jeremiah. So within the Greek concordance, they got Jeremiah 13:23. And obviously, they're going to talk about, Ethiopia. And can an Ethiopian change his skin? Now, I want to read this real quick to y'all. That's why I was trying to get past the other ones. Because this is a verse tied to that same lexicon that's got them showing you, right? So as you see in the first one, matter of fact, we're going to go to the paragraph under. No, we need to read into it. So where it says, Cushite, either Arabic version, Abyssinia, and it's an inhabitant of Eastern Ethiopia, properly an Ethiopian, as the Septuagint, and I might be pronouncing it, or the Vulgate, Latin versions render it, or the Shusine Arabian, the inhabitant of Arabia, Kushi, and it says, which never Judea than the other Ethiopia, and better known, and which were of dark complexion. The Targum renders it the Indian, and so does the Syriac version. In the Mishnah, mention is made of Indian garments with which the high priest was clothed on the Day of Atonement, upon which the gloss is that they were of linen of the country of India. And it says, and which is the land of Cush, or Ethiopia, as Jonathan ben Uziel interprets in Jeremiah 13:23, right? Now, come down a little bit, God. We get to this next paragraph. Start right now. It says, can the Cushite, the Indian, change his skin? This is something that you can go Google if you want. Can a blackamoor wash his skin white? You know what I mean? That's something you go check out. And it says, and it is highly probable that in the time of Jeremiah, no other India was known by the Jews but Ethiopia, or Arabia Kushi, and no other black people but the inhabitants thereof, or any other than the Arabians, and as Bronusius, and I might pronounce that wrong either. You know what I mean? I might be doing wrong with that, but that's my try. It says, observes, it need not to be wondered at that with the Jews in those times, Ethiopia and India should be reckoned the same country, when with the ancients, whatever was beyond the Mediterranean Sea, as Arabia, Ethiopia, and even Judea itself was called India. Interesting. It says, so Joppa, a city of Phoenicia, from whence Andromeda was fetched by Perseus, is by Ovid said to be in India. So Bocart interprets the words of the Saracens or Arabians, who are of swarthy color and some black and indeed have their name from the same word the raven has, which is black. And particularly the inhabitants of Kedar were black, one part of Arabia, to which the allusion is in Song of Solomon 1:5. It says Jericho interprets the word here by the Moor, the blackamoor, whose skin is naturally black and cannot be changed by himself or others. Hence, to wash a blackamoor white. Literally, you can Google that by itself. To wash the blackamoor white is dissertations and everything on it. Go if you're interested, go type in this keyword. Hint, hint. You know what I mean? In your Google search. To wash the blackamoor white. This is a proverbial expression for labor in vain, or attempting to do which is not to be done, or the leopard, his spots of leprosy and all that good stuff. So again, I wanted to just put that right there because see blackamoor is in there too, and they made their correlation. You see me, guy? I want to make sure that was the, and all that goes in together in the conversation that we're about to have, and we make sure that across the board that we can be on the same page about how all of them correlated, right? Each source. You got what you got next for me before we? Yeah, now I had to get this off real quick. Now you know what I mean. This had to be understood. And these sources had to be thrown in. Yeah, is that the observation one? Yeah, that's the one next. Me and you've been talking about observation. You know what I mean. We've been dealing with this observation thing for the last couple of weeks. It's been swarthy, even though it's hot outside.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? But in the manner of what we're talking about, dealing with the observation, and that term more, you know what I mean? And that term swarthy, and that term black. Can you scroll down? I need 20, 21. I need go to 21. 21. Can you do something for me? Give me 21. If I was in this casino, I'd be screaming at him and hit bingo on him. 777, right? That's 21. I mean, blackjack. Either way, blackjack. You feel me? The blackjack. However the case. 21. The importation of foreigners into a country that has many inhabitants as the present employments and provisions for subsistence will be in the end no increase of people unless the newcomers have more industry and frugality than the natives. And then they will provide more subsistence and increase in the country, but they will gradually eat the natives out. Nor is it necessary to bring in foreigners to fill up any occasional vacancy in the country. For such vacancy, if the laws are good, will soon be filled by natural generation, who can now find the vacancy made in Sweden, France, or other warlike nations. By the plague of heroism 40 years ago, in France by the expulsion of the Protestants, in England by the settlement of her colonies, or in the Guinea, which is Africa, and it says by 100 years exportation of slaves that has blackened half of America, the thinnest, that's how I'm pronouncing it, thinnest of inhabitants in Spain is owing to the national pride and idleness and other causes, rather than to the expulsion in 1492 of the Moors or to the making of new settlements. Now, that's what I wanted you to see, that the term, and that Benjamin Franklin, when he observed observations, he definitely used the word Moor, so he knew completely about the people in other colonies prior to him, right? Kicking out, expelling, etc. with these group of people, right? Swarthy, black, dark-skinned people tied to those religions, etc. Right? Jews, Muslims, Protestants, etc. Everybody can get it. That's what was going on. If you were Swarthy, you can get it, especially if you weren't being in with the Roman situation, the Catholic situation. So I want to just read that. Go down to 24 real quick. That's the popular part people should know about. So I ain't got to read the whole thing. I think this has been used on TikTok, Facebook, you name it. It's been used. It's been thrown out there many times, and I want to make sure that is the scene so you can see it. But I ain't gonna do you like that. I ain't gonna be rude. Which leads me to add one remark. Here's what I found. I'm not talking to you right now. Even the phone, even my watch is telling me what they found about the observations. Like I found some shit too, man. But however, which leads me to add one remark. that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All of Africa is black or tiny, Asia chiefly tiny, America exclusively of the newcomers. Wholly so. And in Europe, the Spaniards, the Italians, the French, the Russians, and the Swedes are generally of what we would call a swarthy complexion, and as are the Germans also. The Saxons only accepted, meaning they're not swarthy. And then it says, who, with the English, because they're not swarthy either, make the principal body of the white people on the face of the earth. Don't be mad at me, Benjamin Franklin said this. I'm just reading. And then, after that, what else is my spot? I could wish their numbers were increased. I mean, he's hoping that the people that are Anglo-Saxons and English folks can increase their body of people here in the Americas. And then he says, and while we are, as I may call it, scoring our planet by clearing America of woods, and so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of inhabitants in Mars or Venus, why should we in sight of our superior beings darken his people? Why increase the sons of Africa? Shout out to Monte and Nine. We talked about the sons of Africa in part 1 of the El Negro series, right? Because we want the El Negro thing to be laid out. So coming after that, Sons of Africa, wink, wink, look into that too. Google that shit in your shit and see what happens. Google Sons of Africa by itself, I dare you, and tell me what happens. Now, by planting them in America, where we have so far fair an opportunity, by excluding all blacks and tawnies, of increasing the lovely white and red, but perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country. Of course he is. He's superior to his people, though he's telling you that their people are inferior to the people that's coming over. Funny enough, he said that in his own situation. So, I mean, I ain't gonna, you see what it is. It's right there. It's in your face. Now, what I want to slide before, my last thing, right, God? Let me go in. Am I right? Let me get that what Benjamin Franklin also said about the Negro outside of the observation situation. So you thought I only had to land on that one. Check this out now. I got to throw this in, though. I'm almost done. You know what I mean? I'm almost there. El Negro. Well, you need you to understand this. So look, they got Benjamin Franklin in this picture, Slide down a little bit. This is a publication, because Benjamin Franklin was into publications and shit, newspapers and all that kind of stuff too. So he was doing a lot of that stuff. Slide up. No, let them see the top. 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 Benjamin Franklin's view of the Negro in slavery by William E. Junke. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. That's how I'm going to say it. It says in 1789, less than a year before Benjamin Franklin died, he answered a letter from the Quaker abolitionist John Wright. Franklin wished him success in his endeavors to obtain the abolition of the slave trade, but presumed, if you move it up a little bit, suggest that the first sowing of the slave trade, I read it again. Thank you. You moved on me and got me thrown off, wobbling and shit. It says the first sowing of the good seed of the Negro freedom, was not with the Quaker Yearly Meeting of 1758, as Wright had suggested. Franklin explained. About the year 1728 or 1729, I myself printed a book for Ralph Sandiford against keeping Negroes in slavery, 2 editions of which he distributed gratis. And about the year 1736, I printed another book on the same subject for Benjamin Lay. By these instances, it appears that the seed was indeed sown in the good ground of our profession. In publishing these anti-slavery volumes, Franklin may have indeed helped plant the seeds of abolitionism. In an attack against slavery, Sandiford employed biblical myth and teaching to show that slavery and the slave trade were contrary to God's will. Benjamin Lay echoed similar sentiments, basing his argument on biblical references as well as observations by Christian writers like Thomas More, Thomas A. Kemmis, and John Milton, all of whom had been critical of slavery. Widely distributed, particularly among the Quakers, these books aroused fierce opposition at times, but gradually made a few converts. You see me? So Benjamin Franklin is fully aware before he died, and obviously fully aware before 1751 of the surroundings of what's going on in the world around him, and the people, black or more / Negro / swarthy folks of these nations of people or colonies, we might say, that are coming into the Americas. and obviously, you know, living amongst the nations of people that indigenous people that were here, the Aboriginal First Nation people, right? So in 1789, Benjamin Franklin claimed to have been an early champion of Negro freedom. Interesting enough, huh? 83 years old and president of the Abolitionist Society, Franklin can perhaps be understood, if not forgiven, for making such self-congratulatory suggestion. In reality, when Franklin published the works of Sandford and Lay, he was hardly a budding abolitionist. The Franklin of the 1730s was quite different from the Franklin of the 1780s. They say when people get older, they change their mind. You know what I mean? Maybe they realize some things. I don't know. You feel me? Things happen, right? I'm just showing you that in the earlier years, you know, he was, but he got right before he died, though. He was really, look, man, it's a plan. It's a game plan being laying it out. You know, this is, I can't read the whole thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, right there. You see that right there? That paragraph? Right. So Benjamin Franklin's attitude towards Negroes and slavery is a major concern of this paper. A second point involves inconsistency of Franklin's humanitarian sentiment on the one hand and his practical thought and action on the other. To the historian, the paradox of Franklin's career are challenging and perplexing. Mr. Doubleface, as he was called, could preach about good works and strict morality and yet father in illegitimate offspring. He could serve as a trustee for a humanitarian society to educate Pennsylvania Germans, but proclaim alarm at the Palatine Boers who threatened to make America's country of aliens. Toward the Negro, he could show justice and universal brotherhood as well as more practical and immediate considerations. So, you know, that's something that people are going to have to look at the observation joint in 1751 and then look at what he did later on in life. You know what I mean? That's 30-something years later. You know what I mean? 38 years later. 1789 almost, when he dies almost, right? Yeah, remember, he did the publishing press and all. You can find the publishing situation that the abolitionists used him to do their publishing of things. And African Lodge is 17. Well, technically, the African Lodge, well, on paper, is 1791, but they go earlier than that as far as certain things, but on the record with that charter of London. Yeah, that's what was going on. The folks that the Sons of Africa. The Sons of Africa. That's why he mentioned them. He knew, okay, y'all in good heart with me. Y'all on the same page with me. Okay, we're going to keep it straight. Feel me? We're going to give you a place to do your thing because we don't want you to increase over here. This is how we can meet in the middle. You go over here and do your own thing, and we can do our thing. However you want. So, yeah, put that out there. So let's keep that moving, though. We got, what else are we going to wait? Because I want 90 to get it in. But I want to put this out there first. It's juicy. No, show the book first. Let's show them the book. Then I'm going to show them this one thing and we be ready to go. 9:30, y'all. See, first 30 minutes. I just only need a 30-minute clip to get this out the way. It ain't going to take long. It ain't going to take long at all. We thank everybody that's tapped in. Shout out to everybody in the chat. You know what I mean? This is a book, you know what I mean, that I tried to pull up. You know what I mean? This weekend, I would like having and I know we got it in the library, but shout out to Ra. He sent it to me, you know what I mean, in the text. So I got it in the PDF, you know what I mean? So I could be refreshed on this book. But show them the cover one more time. The author. So the Negro Rulers of Scotland in the British Isles by Dr. John L. Johnson. And man, if you go get this book, he got pictures on days. Jeremy got each one of the joints. Man, the man do a little work. I gotta give him credit like Lee Cummings. This should be in your collection. If you got the Negro Question series, you should add the Negro Scotland joint to it too. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna definitely walk down some folk. I just really want to leave that there for y'all. You know what I mean? The last paragraph. This text highlights the earliest African rulers of Scotland, Southern Ireland, and United Kingdom. A chronicle that focuses upon the Alpine dynasty. See, them dynasties are important to understand. This is from Kenneth Mac Alpine, like me, son of an Alpine, and his great-great-grandson, Kenneth Dub. You know, Dub is mean Swarthy black too. The Dubs. It says, or Kenneth the Niger, you know what I mean? Black Duff or Duffy, you know what I mean? Whose descendants of different appearances continue to rule Scotland, England, Ireland, and other nations of Europe, even until this day. I was like, who? Until this day? Until this day? What did he write this book? But anyways, did they crypto over there? We don't know. In Scotland, we don't know something going on. Is they hiding in Scotland? We don't know. To this day. To this day. Now when we talk about these Negroes, they ain't Indians. Make sure I put that. They ain't American Indians, and they not from India. Well, some of them might went to India as far as lineage wise, but you know what I mean. I just want to put that out there. Feel me? So yeah, and I got something just to put a little bit further on, a little juice on it, is because you know when they say African, I ain't gonna let them slide with that. Because see, when we see African, and we know that Rome created Africa, just like they gave the name to Asia, so we have to understand that the Romans, you know, didn't conquer the areas of what we call Europe today until around after the 5th century. You know what I mean? Just to give you a timeline. You know, shout out to Lee Cummins and other people who have put this in their documents and information that the timeline would be 450 AD, roundabout. You know what I mean? Just so you know, you can go check on that. The Hadrian Wall in 450 AD. That's my marker for you. Of them saying white folk and the Romans as well are invading these areas, and the tribes of people like the Basque and other groups, you know what I mean? Celtic groups, Welsh groups, like the Salurs. Give me that last joint on the Salurs real quick, and I'm ready to go. Now, I'm about ready for you, dog. I just wanted to show this, one of the groups that was in this area prior to the Romans in the time frame of 449 AD. So, you know, this is prior to them saying, when they say Africans, we got to be a little more descriptive on what these ancient Iberian people and how they self-identified themselves. You know what I mean? So we slide down a little bit. So, boom, the Salurs. Yeah, go to the Salurs part right there. Go to the Salurs. No, go back up. 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 Let them know. Let them know. Let them know. There we go. Right there. All right. So that the Salurs were black does not need to be questioned. Remember that word. Go look it up. Silures. This is the tribe and actually the Celtic Welsh group that King Arthur was the king of. He was the king of the Salurs. If you want to go research that, put them words together in your Google search. And it says, does not need to be questioned. They're described as short in stature, with brown complexion and black curled hair and dark eyes. In the 2nd century AD, so that's way before 449, the Roman historian Pliny described the Britons' complexion as Ethiopian. So you see how it is called, see how they move using these words so loosely? But they're Britons, though. They're Britons, but they're being described as Ethiopians. Or Africans, I guess, or Blackamoors, right? Or Negroes, or Swarthy people. However you want to exchange that word, once you know what you're looking at, you know what you're looking at. Don't let it fool you. Don't let them make you think that when they say the Briton, like the Briton was the Ethiopian, and he came from Ethiopia to place. It's descriptive. So, and obviously it says African presence in early Europe by Ivan Van Sertima. If you want, go look up that book. It's saying transaction publishers and all that. And in this book, the memoirs of the Celts of Gauls, Joseph, can y'all hear me out there? Or is it just me? You hear me? All right, let's keep it moving. So then, boom, as it says here in this joint, you know what I mean, and obviously the sources, right? Good morning. So then it says Memoirs of the Celts or Gauls by Joseph Ritson, London, Payne and Foss, 1827. The Salurs were identical with the small, dark, long-headed Basque-speaking people found in the Western Pyrenees, who were a fragment of the Iberians. See, that's why I said the Iberians, I know. And it says our earliest ancestors in Britain by Boyd Dawkins, London, John Hayward. The Iberians were the early inhabitants of Spain. Wesley John Gaines insists that the Iberians came from North Africa. The Negro and The White Man by Wesley John Gaines, Philadelphia, AME, United States African Methodist Episcopal Church, Publishing House, 1897, page 11. It is important to note that Iberia and North Africa are separated by the mere 13 kilometers at the narrowest point of the Strait of Gibraltar. Pliny described Iberian's complexion as Ethiopianism. Oh, that's how I would say it. Black as the Ethiopian. Now, this is in the 2nd century AD, and these people are in Europe. It's clearly ain't no, white folk were there prior to 449 AD. Or the Romans coming into the area and controlling it. These folk were anciently in these areas. Matter of fact, let me do tactics, because I want these people to look up these folk before they come around this captain, right? Slide up a little bit for me, God. Go check out David McRitchie as well. He got a lot of information on this. Roman historian Tacitus also noted that the Silurs were a dark, complex people. J.A. Rogers believed that they were very likely of Phoenician or Egyptian descent. The Silurs were the strongest and most organized state in Britain. They were considered one of the bravest and ancient British nations and defended their country and their liberty against the Romans with the most heroic fortitude. Yeah. Slide down a little bit more. It says it was because they refused to be dominated by the outsiders they fought so hard for their freedom. Julius Caesar led a Roman invasion of Britain in 55 BC. It took the Romans more than 30 years to subdue the Silurs. Ain't that some shit? So listen, I'm author, Aether, you already know what it is. Interesting. In many books and movies made about King Arthur, very few mention that King Arthur was the king of a group of black people. In the legend of King Arthur, he was the king of the Silurs, who held back the advances of the Saxons for a time. You know what Benjamin Franklin said about the Saxons, right? You know what he said about the Anglos and the English? Oh, Picts too. Another group of blacks in the ancient British Isles were Picts. David McRitchie called the Picts Moors, i.e. black. And then it states that it was clear that the Silurs were Picts. Ancient Immortal Britons even says that. So, we're going to keep it moving. I wanted to just, go check out these books and these sources and these people we got documented for saying what they're saying and doing what they're doing. Shout out to them for leaving us these clues so we can go research and read and comprehend what our folks, that they say from the other side of the pond coming out of Europe look like, rather than what the modern day people like to say about these definitions and understandings. He did. So yeah, let's tap in. Now I need this on you. Tap in with me, man. It's on you. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. The El Negro series information that you have definitely brought.
All right. Let me get the share screen.
Share screen. Woo-wee. What you thought about that, Nana, while we get this God agree and get the share screen for you?
It's 100% online. It's 100% online.
You said what? Oh, you gotta press the put the thing up, right? We need you to share whatever, and then we can put it up. That's what he's saying to me.
Well, I went to the share. Choose.
Oh, we see it. All right, y'all. So strap up.
We good on the screen?
I see it well. We good on my side.
Okay, 100%. For those of y'all that was following the series, this is part 3. We left off part 2 with Pedro Negro, who fought under King Henry VIII, and he was a Spanish mercenary whose will and his actual, they like to say mercenary deeds. A lot of land, even though he died in battle, he left everything to his daughter. So that's what's on screen. So we passing him. That was Pedro El Negro from the last series, and we're going to pick up in the Caribbean. And this is coming from Matthew Restall, The Americas, copyrighted by Academy of American Franciscan History. Indeed, black conquistadors by definition fought alongside Spaniards against indigenous warriors. It was by risking their lives, suffering in the field, protecting Spaniards, and killing natives, the black men were able to improve their circumstances and, if enslaved during their fight, could fight for their own freedom. Yet the historical record contains only passing mentions of blacks in combat experience in the Spanish campaigns. Juan Bardell claimed that he successfully in his claim of successful petition for a royal pension, that his military service and sacrifice, including taking 106 arrows wounds in Honduras and saving the life of the Spanish captain. That his wounds were not a round number makes you wonder whether Bardell had 106 corresponding scars rather than just arrows. So, as right in the King, Juan Bardell's was just blustering his companionship, but we're not going to get on him right now. Other descriptions of black conquistadors' actions by both blacks and Spaniards tend to be frustratingly vague. He helped place the province under our command, as a king in an edict remarked about a black conquistador in the Yucatan is typical. Basically saying at this time, a lot of times they tried to write them out and just made statements that and when they didn't make a statement of a name, 90% of the time they were hiding someone who was considered to be El Negro or black or colored, whatever you want to call it. Often such remarks pay homage to the combat effectiveness and military prowess of black soldiers. Rodrigo de Quiroga, writing to the king about the campaign in Chile, commented that blacks often fulfilled functions necessary to war. During the 1536 siege by Manco Inca of the Pizarro-led forces in Cusco, the colonial authorities in Hispaniola sent aid to him 200 Spanish-speaking blacks who were very good fighters. For those of you who are following this series, we went into Juan Garcia, who was the master of weights for the Spanish crown, and his name was Juan Garcia Moro Pizarro. He claimed to be part of the Pizarro family that they are whitewashing. So you would have to go back. I think he's in part 2 or 1. And that's Juan Garcia, but he fought in the Cusco Wars, and he was considered the master of weights, meaning all the gold and the silver and the booty that was brought in, he would actually be tasked with weighing it and dividing to the conquistadors and to the crown back whatever. Some black conquistadors only made it into the historical records either because they were killed in notable battles, such as 5 who died at the Chilean Battle of, say that, Chickamauga? It's almost like the Chickamauga, right?
Chickamauga look like.
Yo, it looked like the Chickamauga. But we were down. And the Lenape. Yo, bro, I never even seen that part. Wow, we're going to come back to that. Or killed in notable native rulers, the Araucanian leader Copolican, who killed by a black soldier or saved a prominent Spaniard, Diego de Almagro's life once was saved by an African slave. Now we still in Matthew's document, and he continues to show certain things. So he shows the Black Conquistadors, Table 1, biographical patterns of selected Black conquistadors and their birthplace. So they have Juan Garrido, Africa or Portugal, and we, those that are following this series, Juan Garrido, he has the most national parks in North America than all conquistadors, and he's really from Portugal. But Matthew here is saying Africa or Portugal and was a black slave. He was manumitted, and his story is in part 1. Sebastian Toro, they put a question mark, African black slave in Yucatan. His manumission tribute exemption letter is in Spain. He fought in Costa Rica and was part, even though we're going to go into him probably in two more because we still compiling some info. He fought under the Order of Christ, which was the old Knights Templar. Juan Bardez, African black slave we just read about, who said he took 106 arrows while he was trying to get his pension. They say he was African black slave. Antonio Perez, North African free black. His story is in this file too, but we're not going to go into him today. He was a free black in North Africa who came over early with Cortez and fought in Venezuela, was a horseman and a captain. Juan Portuguese, I can't find nothing on this guy, so we definitely not going to get him, but he's very intriguing to me that they just citing him. Juan Garcia, we already went to. His name is Juan Garcia Pizarro, and he was the master of weights. And you see to the right, he got his footman's share of gold and silver for these wars over here. He was a Spaniard, 100% Spaniard, free mulatto from Peru. Fought in Peru, but he came from Spain. He fought. Juan Garcia and Juan Garrido fought together. They actually fought together against someone in the first series. I forgot his name, but they fought against a black indigenous warrior in the first series, which we're going to probably go into later on. Miguel Ruiz, Spain, free mulatto. And now he got an interesting story. Horseman's double share of gold, silver. So he had got his and his brother. His brother is listed as a Negro with no mulatto in him, but he's listed as a mulatto. And he got, because his brother got killed in the war, and he got a double portion of gold, and it allotted it to his families. Juan Valente, we're going to focus on him and Juan Beltran today. And you see they got a question mark as African black slave, Peru and Chile, treated though as free, made captain and granted an estate, and letters of marque, in a sense, in the Spanish term, encomidas. That's like a letters of marques of lands, patents, and to have indentured servants or slaves. So Juan Valentes, who they have as questionable African, I know that his mother is indigenous woman, but there's really no record on his father, but he might be related to Valentine or some of the Spanish nobles because he took on their name. Juan Beltran is a Spanish-American free mulatto, black and native. He was Negro and native and considered a mulatto and fought in the Chilean Wars. And he had built 2 forts, even though they say confirmed as captain of 1 fort he built in Villarica, and given his letters of marque to have land and slaves and indentured servants. That's Juan Beltran. The Beltran name is bastardization of Beltran, and we looked into the Beltran family in the Order of Santiago in the first series. So the El Negro series continue. And we're talking about, which one here? We'll be talking about, I think they'll say his name, Beltran. He played such a vital role in the conquest of Villarica. Is that Beltran? Yeah, he built the fort. He's the one that built the fort. He played such a vital role in the conquest of Villarica that he was appointed the commander of its garrison, which kept the region safe for the Spaniards. For his service, Martin Garcia de la Loya, the governor of Chile from 1592 to 1598, presented Juan Beltran with 500 Indians and gave him the title of infantry captain, like his father. Beltran's father also was a captain. Beltran was one of the rare black conquistadors to give an in comida and a grant of labor and tribute paid to subdue local Indians. He wasn't rare because, as you see, the series will show you many of these indigenous and so-called Spaniard and black military mercenaries coming over and being part of the conquest of the Americas, especially the South. Villa Rica, Chile was nearly 500 miles south of the capital of Santiago. This geographical region was home to the Arequian people who resisted Spanish excursions fiercely. In December 1553, the Arequian army of warriors organized by legendary Machu Picchu chief La Torre drove the Spanish out of conquest was never totally secured. The region was borderlands of Spanish conquest for several decades, approximately from 1540s to the 1600s, and it was fair to also call a second-generation conqueror Juan Beltran a black Spanish conquistador. The Spanish had a long history of valorizing Africans. You see, they put in Africans, even though they didn't have that, but they want to run with the narration of the game. Supposed warlike abilities due to their long contact with Northern Africa, especially during the Reconquista of Iberia Peninsula from the Muslim conquerors. Indeed, Beltran was respected for his perceived natural African military powers, we're going to call it black powers, Negro powers, and loyal to the Spaniards, that in the 1620 chronicles wrote him in almost legendary terms. He was described as obedient and deferential to Spaniards, while also capable of instilling great fear and awe amongst the indigenous population. He was a fierce raider from the military fort of Villarica, which he built with his 500 soldiers and 200 indentured or slaves. Beltran would raid deep into Indian country and bring back riches for the Spaniards. In contrast to the apparent awe and respect of both the Spaniard and many indigenous people held for Beltran, he was eventually killed by the Arequian Indians in one of their several successors at driving the Spaniards out of their homeland. Continuing from Matthew Restall. So that was see, he's very, you see, Mac, how they play the game with him. If you go up, it says Spaniard American free mulatto. He's not, he's a black native. He's not from,
yeah. He a Zambo.
Zambo. Yeah. Second
gone
generation.
Rambo. You know what I'm saying? He a Zambo gone Rambo. You heard me? You know what I'm talking about? He a Zambo gone Rambo. This man, you know, we just went over the Mulatto Kings last week. So when I seen it, I was like, "Oh, I'll let you. I'm trying to let you do your thing." That's all. Yeah, no pressure. Go ahead though. Yeah, I'm with you
I
though.
just wanted to point out the narration.
I saw that. I saw that.
African coming in there.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm with you. We on the same path. You hear me? Let's go.
We still in Matthew Restall, right? I mean, we're going, Matthew Restall's paper, Academy of America, Franciscan History. On table 4, which we saw Valente, he gives his brief history and lets you know probably born in Africa, like earlier, resident in Puebla as a slave of Alonso Valente. Now they're saying he was a slave, Alonso Valente, and there's questions about Alonso Valente, the reconquistador, the conquista, as being mulatto himself and of Spanish nobility. So we can leave that there. He leaves Pueblo with written and notarized permission from Alonso, his owner, to join a conquest campaign as a soldier for 4 years travel in Guatemala. So Alonso Valente gives Juan Valente letters of patents to do what he pleases for 4 years and join multiple raids in South America. In 1535, he became a member of Negr0's expedition in Chile. In 1540, he's a member of Juan de Valdivia's expedition to Chile as vested partner in this one with his own horses, well, they say horse, but he supposedly had 23 horses under his command and gains the title of captain. A year later, he's a legal owner of a pueblo and sends nephew with power of attorney to sell Valente his freedom. The nephew apparently never finds his uncle's conquistador slaves. So his legal owner supposedly goes to free him, but we know he's free. And the story goes that the nephew was coming to say, you did your thing, because he's been sending things back for that 10 years that he's been out there. And they're going to give him his letters to let the people know, and his flag, because he had 2 ships under his command, that he was totally free person under the Spanish crown. But in 1546, he pops up again, even though they couldn't find where he was at, and he was granted an estate in Santiago de Chile through the Order of Santiago. Those papers are in the monarch's chambers of Spain till this day. A lot of people have been trying to get those, and even Matthew was trying to get them. I guess he's unsuccessful because it's not in the paper, but the source will be provided here. In 1550, as governor, Valverdino grants Valente another letter of marque, so to speak, near Concepcion. He commissions a royal officer to negotiate his legal freedom in Peru or Mexico, but the official returns to Spain instead. So he really is running around about 10, 15 years with no paper except for his original letters of documents to leave for 4 years. But he's in good grace to the point where they keep trying to give him other letters, and for some reason, either history is whitewashing it, and he may have received it. In 1553, he was killed by a native in Andes at the Battle of Tucapel. His son inherits his estate. So his son inherits his estate, and we're going to go into Juan Valente. Eventually, Juan Valente, see, another thing is, in his history, he's shown to be over there in Spain. Comes over here for about 4 years, and then he goes to Spain for about 5 years, and then comes back. So this is another source, Black Plas, that is picking up him coming back in. Eventually, Juan Valente returned to the Pueblo, Mexico, with his owner in 1533. So we're going a little back. Signed a contract with Alonso Valente that allowed him to participate as the conquistador. With this agreement, Juan Valente traveled to Guatemala, we know, Peru, so on. I want to get to the bottom of this because we read basically most of that. Although he lived as a free man with a small fortune made in Chile, technically Juan Valente was still enslaved to Alonso Valente. Although he attempted to send payments to Spain, they apparently were not received, and the senior Valente continued to demand them. Juan Valente died fighting Indians, as we said earlier. So you see, I wanted to show 2 sources to show that there's some narrative that he was, for this whole time, this little 25-year campaign, that he fought against a lot of the indigenous warriors that were championed of Portugal. And this is Spain's deep state basically going against Portugal deep state in some fashions. But when we research these histories, we got to understand that a lot of times they are playing the games and whitewashing their estates, but their family still inherits. So it would be advantageous for people that want to look into these people is to go into genealogy.com and go into these little websites and look at the son and see where the son's doing, because the son is actually a 3rd generation conquistador, and we knew him to be a 2nd generation. And this is painting a picture of true lineage and generational wealth within these black conquistadors, these Negroes that are basically really coming from Spain at this time and invading and having their own ships. And if you notice, he got ships for under his command for close to 30 years, and he's in the Caribbean, he's going back to Spain, and supposedly people are running up on him. And although the Valente are great nobles of Spain, for some reason, no one can give him his papers of freedom. but his son was considered free in the inheritance, and therefore that's the history of this El Negro, Juan Valente.
Juan Valente.
Juan Valente in Mexico, so he had campaigns, and look at it. He had campaigns, and they letting you know Juan Valente in part 201, we went to Juan Garado. So Juan Valente was most famous of the black conquistadors in Chile. He was, in fact, one of a number of 16th century armed African-born, no, he wasn't, Spanish-born, free blacks and slaves who begin with Juan Garado, who has definitely, like I said earlier, a whole bunch of national parks. He built his own cathedral in Mexico or Venezuela, I forgot. He was also, Juan Guerrero was also the conquistadors mercenary of aqueducts, and he was in charge of all the aqueducts. So Matthew is explaining same things that we've been going through in our series. Who, beginning with Juan Guerrero and Cortez in Mexico in 1521, participated in the Spanish conquest of Mexico, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, Venezuela, Peru, and Chile. Now they go back to most enslaved gained their freedom for participating in these expeditions. Others who were free were awarded minor posts in their new homeland. Ironically, Valente, one of the few black conquistadors, gained land in compensation for his conquest, never gained legal freedom, but he was really popping off. Of the blacks who became conquistadors in Chile campaign, some can also be named. A black conquistador named Felipe, who we also checked, and Felipe is indigenous 100%, so you got to watch part 1 to get him, fought at the Battle of Marihina. You hear the Marihina. Another named Juan Fernandez fought much later in Canete. Others whose names are lost fought and died during hostilities at the Chickamauga or Migi and the Labipi. I'm going to say Chickamauga and Lenape. I'm going to be on that in freestyle.
Freestyling?
Freestyling, that's freestyle. Yo, but you see how that look like Chickamauga and Lenape?
Shit crazy. This it does, like, you know, if we was like, I was just saying about homophones and, you know, synonyms and stuff, so I know it looked like it. So we're gonna have to look into that. Like that's interesting. Like, so what language, like what I'm trying to figure out, because it does look like, you know, Chickamauga or Chickamauga, how people pronounce that indigenous tribe from here, and then obviously, you know, Labapi or Labapi.
Labapi.
How did I say that? That's it.
In Chumagagi or
Hey,
Chumagigi.
this pronunciation ain't it? Hey.
Chumagagi and Labapi. Labapi is real close. I'm gonna have to look into that Labapi, the Labapi people. A black soldier named Juan Beltran played a vital role, who we just talked about, in the conquest of Villarica. We'll skip that. Okay, where we at? Elsewhere in South America, Spanish campaigns of conquest featured roles of black slaves and servant auxiliaries. Substantial number of Africans participated in the founding of Cartagena in the 1530s, for example, and also in the initial attempts to settle
Buenos.
Say that again. Say that.
Buenos.
Buenos. Oh, shit.
Buenos Aires.
Yo, my great grandmother gonna be mad. Yo, the Taino. I'm sorry, Rafaela Padilla. Shout out to the Padillas. She's mad at me right now. You can't say Buenos Dias. In the same decade, Pedro de Sierra de Leon recorded the presence of a large number of blacks on disastrous expeditions into Colombia. Also in 1530, that the chronicler himself was lucky to survive these same things. Other sources indicate that one of the conquistadors of New Granada was a free mulatto named Pedro de Lerma. Diego de Ordaz also took black men down to the Orique. Pedro de Lerma, we're going to hit him in part 4. We're going to come back to him. And here goes another source. Black Conquistadors PDF, Latin America Studies.org. And we basically going to end with the Negro King of Portugal.
Mulatto kings and Negro kings. You heard me?
Yeah,
Tap in.
we're gonna end with the Negro King. You want to grab this one?
I'm ready. Yeah. I ain't gonna let you do it all by yourself. You know what I mean?
Grab the last one. I'll work with you.
All right, Miguel. That's Miguel the First de Barrera, also known as King Miguel, and Miguel the Black, was formerly a enslaved man from San Juan, Puerto Rico, who ruled as King of Barrera in modern-day state of Lara, Venezuela, from 1552 to 1555. He is best known for leading a slave insurrection against the Spanish in 1552. Following the revolt, Miguel established himself as the first king of the new state of Barrera, while naming his wife, I'm going to say, Guamar, queen, and his son as a prince. Miguel was the first and only king of African descent in Venezuela, serving for 3 years until he was killed in the battle by Spanish forces in 1555. Miguel was born around 1510 in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Little is known of his early life, but he was brought to Venezuela by a slave owner, Damian del Barrio, and later inherited by his son, Pedro del Barrio. Miguel worked on the Rio de Minas de San Felipe de Beria, which was a gold mine in the province of Yaracuao. When a Spanish foreman, Diego Hernandez de Serpa, tried to punish him, Miguel resisted, grabbing a sword from the foreman and fighting him before escaping to the nearby Cordillera de Merida Mountains. From his base in the mountains, Miguel started a Maroon colony and eventually led a rebellion of enslaved workers in the San Felipe mines. Gathering weapons, Miguel and his followers attacked Spanish guards at the mines. They captured many of the guards and executed those who had been particularly cruel to the enslaved workers. Having seized the control of the mines, Miguel and his followers spread out across the Yaracuao province, freeing other enslaved people. He then led them back into the safety of the mountains. The actual location of Miguel's Maroon colonies is unknown, but we do know that Miguel was made king of the settlement while his wife and his son became queen and prince. Other rebellion leaders became government ministers and military officers. The Spanish colony government in Venezuela, however, was determined to destroy the Maroon colony in Berea. Anticipating an attack from the Spanish colonial troops, Miguel led his forces against them in Nueva Segovia de Barquisimeto. Borrowing tactics from nearby indigenous tribes, they painted their faces using the Guinupa americana, a plant widely found in the region. To intimidate the Spanish soldiers, Miguel and his troops then attacked the town, burned a church, and killed a priest, Tiberio Ruiz, and 6 settlers in 1555. The war with the Spanish colonial army continued until Miguel was killed in battle later in 1555 while leading a charge against Spanish troops commanded by Captain Diego de Losada. After Miguel's death, most of the demoralized followers were survived the battle were re-enslaved. Nonetheless, the 3-year resistance of Miguel and his followers in what would be one of the first challenges to Spanish colonial rule in Venezuela and the rest of Latin America will become an important inspiration for Venezuelan folklore and literature. Indeed.
Indeed. So chime in on that.
You know, the fact that the Maroon part come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know some folk, because of popularity, you know, they think that some Maroon shit is just some shit that happened in Jamaica, maybe, right? You know what I mean? That there's no Maroon people out here. They don't even understand what Maroon is. A collective group of people who are now taking land, they're autonomously and governing it. You know what I'm saying? And doing what they got to do to survive. amongst themselves. You feel me? Some people make a pseudo remark like it's like a one group of people that are the Maroons. You know what I mean? There's mad Maroon settlements from Canada all the way into the Caribbean, going all the way into 1865 and even after. You know what I mean? Shoot. Why you think they told you they didn't get out to Texas to tell that group of people that were living autonomously? They didn't even know that some war was over. They're like, shit, y'all over there doing what? But however the case, you know what I'm saying? However the case might be, I'm just talking shit. But but there's a lot of Maroon settlements outside of even people knowing about the Seminoles or the Black Seminoles. You know what I mean? They call it Estelusti. You know what I mean? Or the Muskogee Maroon situation in Georgia, Alabama, and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of stuff. Shout out to all the Maroon settlements that's moving autonomously from ancient times. Shout out to them as ancestors to our inspiration to do what we're doing right now, to understand how we want to keep up with what we call autonomy for our mixture of people who we are today in the Americas. You feel me? And we indigenous in the motherfucker. Excuse me, French.
And the crazy thing is, he was born in Puerto Rico, but they so easy to give him an African descent because he's a Negro. He was born in. You have no record of his parents. So just because you find a Negro who rise through the ranks, some Negro that's already Maroon, he didn't start no Maroon colony. He's already a Maroon. You have no history of this man, but you want to run with the narrative that these individuals, just like earlier, Juan is 100% Spaniard, but he's over here and he's going back and forth. But you're saying, he's enslaved to his owner. No, he came over with an individual, the noble family of the Valentes, and he might even be a Valente. And the way y'all playing the game with whitewashing these histories, and it's just weird that, he becomes this one, he becomes king of this. He starts in the gold mines. How do you have a Maroon from a gold mine becoming king for 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and how did it's like they ain't gonna make it seem like there's a whole bunch of indigenous people that's being enslaved and put into these caste systems, being labeled Negroes in the Spanish colony, right? Automatically,
and
they lost amity.
And supposedly start Maroon situations. They're already out here. They are basically just like us in the 1865. Those people that was never in a census, they're finally being rounded up. They're finally becoming under some type of jurisdiction. So people got to understand at this time in Spanish colonial South America and in that Caribbean, as you had the Order of Santiago, you had the Order of Christ, you had different orders of these Portuguese and Spanish crowns, and you finding all these people that's flying around with ships. You seen over there, homie is out here 25 years, and he's flying the flag of the Valente family, one of the great noble families of Spain, but he supposedly keeps missing the people that are coming to give him his papers of freedom.
You know what's even crazier though? What they don't want to do. See, this is something that needs to be, since we talking about the conquistadors of Spain and the Portugal, right? In South America to this day, they use the term Moreno. You know what I'm saying? Morano. You know what I mean? Morena. You feel me? But at the same time, I think because of how they corrupted things as they always do, we don't understand the context of really, again, where the origin of this word maroon really, as a term, you know what I mean? Of some people that were coming over here mixing with indigenous people, you know what I mean? Over here they say maroon. But what about the Morano from over there? That's a Blackamoor from out of Portugal, who in 1492 is being outed because of their faith, not being considered a Catholic or a Christian.
Yeah, they Morano over there, then they turn the mulatto over here. Just like we got Miguel Ruiz up here on the screen, Spain, free mulatto. His birthplace is Spain.
Right.
He's a mulatto over later being called the mulatto.
See, this is what they don't be like. See, the changeover, and then when they mix with somebody, right, and have children on this land, now that collective group of people are now also in the Maroon settlement. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
See, you feel me, gang God? Like this shit is laid out like that. It's like you just got to know the terms of what took place in the trade system between these people prior to what they tried to tell us about a new world scenario. You know what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
know we're gonna debunk that in a minute, but just to put that out there, feel me? I ain't scared to say it. It's gonna get debunked. It's
But
gonna get debunked.
they like to play that game and give the African backdrop. As we see Juan Beltran, he was black native,
That
Negro
part.
native. That's it. So and now you get these other sources that will erase his whole native side. When you have this paternal line coming in, this Negro coming in and getting with this native Negro, the ones that they're calling Negro de Terra, but we know them to be native Indian and not even native, indigenous Indian. And now today, 300-400 years, well, this is 500 years later, we got to use this term black native, like on the screen, it says Juan Beltran, black native. He's confirmed the captain and building his own fort. Well, if this is the later on the maroon and the slave class and the bottom of the barrels, how's some of them building? How's he building for? How's Juan Valente sitting out here in 25 years in the most contested area from 1525 to 1550 and doing his thing and having multiple ships and fighting in multiple wars? And he's flying the flag of the Spanish crown, and the English that are trying to come at this time, or in the let's say 1560, 1570, you have French coming, really, not the English. You got the French trying to pop off, and the Dutch is there. We know we ran through the Black Dutch in part 1, where Garada was fighting them hellily, and
Going crazy.
Felipe fought for Peru and Brazil. He was indigenous, and they have him as later on they're playing these games with these people and basically whitewashing their whole vibration and the history of who they are. And today,
Give him that picture. Give him that picture though. I want to show some shit. Go to the first one. You slid by that one. Let's go through that. Yeah, look at that map. Let's look at the layout of how they're showing depicting these folk. And you can see that right there.
See now we know this one to be more of a whitewash because look at where my arrow is.
This is to wash a black and more white. I'm gonna call it.
Yeah. Because over here we knew
exhibition. How you go? Exhibit A to wash a black and more white.
Because we know the Carlos Quinto that was over here the last time. That's why I put this here this time because we got the famous one that's out there, but now we have the bastardized version of what they really try to do to the people.
That part, to wash a black and more white. I'm actually going to show that tonight. I'm going to show them that someone did the whole dissertation on this exact situation right here. You know what I mean? And some people are actually confused by it today and bought into it. Oh, what was this me? But either way, it's showing all these different joints.
I just wanted to look at Antonio Felipe and Henry Diaz. These are two indigenous warriors that we went over in part 1 or 2. But Felipe were fighting against Juan Garcia and them. So the Diaz and them, they're fighting later on. This is all at the same times in the 1500s. But they're coming in. Felipe is coming in about 10 years after Juan Garcia is there. So we got to look at Juan Garcia's son, who's the third generation conquistador, and see if he's banging with Felipe and them in the 1580s when he starts his campaign.
Yeah, so the whole, let's slide up a little bit. So this whole thing though, right? Oh, that's an ill picture how they got that laid out. Whoever at that time was thinking about war. What it looked like to me.
Yo, you see how Enrique Diaz army down here, they super dark.
Right.
Felipe Army, even though we got him in that Brazilian document that we covered in Order of Santiago, we got him in that document as Negritos. But look at his army; it's a little lighter.
Right, they're trying to paint them a little more tawnier.
So we got Tawny and Swarthy.
Tawny and Swarthy. For real. You know what I'm saying? For real. I mean, how you want it? They got to make it look a little different. You know what I'm talking about? But I mean, shoot, if that's what the individuals on the left had children with those tawny people on the right, I mean, the complexion that's going to come out, variations of Holy Soul.
Facts.
Either way.
And we know none to fight together. They bros. These are two, like, my fault. Hold on. These are two indigenous bros. You think that mixture, even if we're going to go with the narrative of the picture, we're going to go with this narrative of the picture, but we know these two were part of the Order of Santiago, one of them part of the Order of Christ, which is the Knights Templar in Santiago. We done went through that. But like you said, they're mixing. And you know that these warriors classes mixing, and their strongholds, and we know Felipe and them to be indigenous. They have no history in Spain, but they fight with the Portuguese that come over under the Order of Santiago and under these letters of marque and things. It's
that part. Hey, you know, shoot, it's a lot of mulatto kings and mulatto noble people running around in it. It's a lot of noble mulatto folk in the Americas doing things. And it got, Lord knows, there's a whole bunch of the mulatto noble people over here. What was buddy name? Cortez's first son? Dang, I can't think of his name. No, Cortez's when he had the child with the Indian, and he what's that term they give them? Hidalgo.
Yeah.
Hidalgo, right? And then that same mixture of that nobility, look at the treaty that took place with Mexico and Texas out there. The Treaty of Hidalgo and all that stuff they be talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about? That title's in there showing these mulatto people in noble positions. You know, just to put that out there. Going from the 15th century, you know what I mean? On the west side. You feel me? On the west side, Mississippi. I should pull up that joint too, just for the record, like the Hidalgo shit. They just throw it out there. But anyways, though, are you got anything else on this?
No, we done. We done for those three. We'll be back.
We'll be back.
More.
Yeah. So El Nigo Part 3, we gave you 3. You know what I mean? Plus some other sources ahead of time. I mean, like think of the stuff ahead of time, like all the previews before you got to watch the movie and shit. You had to put your commercials and shit in. That was my part. Right now, though, I'm gonna add some stuff at the end, just because we have talked about this on Clubhouse socially. You know what I mean? And, you know, because I know there's a lot of confusion out there about the Blackamoor, and I think because people are so caught up in the race, that supremacy of things, that this term African is being used so umbrellally that it's not. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Or did he freeze? I'm tripping. All right, well, if you hear me, you hear me? All right, my bad. I'm live. I got thrown off. Maybe my headphones. But either way.
My bad. I can hear
that's
you.
What it was. That's what you threw me off, because your shit went silent in the mud. I was like, hold up.
I turned my mic off.
Okay, bet. No, but what I was going to say was that we have to think of the terms and how they move around words, basically. The semantics of how people might get confused because of how they're whitewashing a lineage of nobility tied to crest and foreign folk who would be considered today free people of color in the Americas. However, with the obviously indigenous people who were also put underneath those things after certain treaties and stuff were done. And you can go look at the treaties, and it would tell you that the people who did that move or didn't go here and didn't migrate nowhere, they were now being put underneath the jurisdiction of that colony. You know what I mean? That state or that constitution of tied to the treaty. You know what I'm saying? So, however, to wash a Blackamoor white, I mentioned it earlier. You know what I mean? But I'm going to give you a little quick sneak peek at it. You know what I'm talking about? And also too, I did on Friday, uh, the devil in the one drop rule. I gotta throw the devil in the one drop rule. I can't go all the way in to where I want to. It's coming in fall. I'm gonna say that much. You know what I'm saying? I got my version of it. I got a remix. I'm gonna do a remix to the devil in the one drop rule. It's coming soon. In the fall. Feel me? I got a bill for y'all for this one. I'm gonna do a whole joint. Woo! But shout out to Kumse. You know what I mean? And we got some heat coming. You know what I mean? Shit. Some heat coming in the fall. And at the same time, shout out to Opie, always dropping the heat with the genealogy. You're keeping it non-biased. It's off of people looking to just do their research for whatever their unique situation is of their lineage. You know what I'm saying? We're not being biased, so you can find your own autonomous way of going about doing it. You feel me? Being just real about that, because we ain't really into, cultish ideal if you got to be this or that in order for you to know who your people is. So show them Black and More, the Black and More joint real quick. And I got a book too. I'm gonna throw it real quick in a minute. I'm gonna throw that out there in a second. Besides, throw some books out there. Y'all be reading shit. So boom. The rise of the black ethnic religious rhetoric in early modern England. I'm gonna give the lady name now. This lady be dropping. Shout out to Carly D. Pratt. You know what I'm saying? Some ladies out here that did some work. They be quiet with it. They just be dropping lethal bombs and just walking away. You know what I mean? So yeah, To Wash a Black and More White by Tamara Elizabeth Lewis. Shout out to them Lewises. Dissertation submitted to the faculty of the Graduate School of Vanderbilt University in partial fulfillment of the requirement. You know how that works. Dissertations, many sources to that. Doctor of Philosophy, go ahead, girl, and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? All the professors that, it's like, yeah, we got to let you handle that business. They got to be a witness. Slide down real quick. I'm literally copyrighted and all. I'm giving her credit. You know what I mean? It's there. You're just reading from the source of somebody that felt about this conversation. Okay, give them the context. I can't read the whole thing. Exactly. That's what I give them the context. I'm telling you to go Google this. You feel me? This is my jewel for y'all. Go Google To Wash a Black and More White. You should find it. You know what I mean? The chapters as it lays out, introduction, as you see, background, literature review, race, religious history, in early modern England. Okay, so just as we talked about the term Black and More, we know where it comes from, and we know the history. And some people maybe don't know this part of the history because they still talk about Negro land, which is, I would like to say Al Sudan before I would say Negro land, because that's the last British folk, right, that called it Negro land. They were the last ones to call that shit, right? They weren't the first people to use the term from people that. Anyways, though. So anyways, the Hamitic myth in early modern England. So the Hamitic myth in early modern England. And then you've seen we've been talking about Jews, we've been talking about Christians. They're all Black and More. They're all swarthy folk. But this mythology of a Hamitic thing that we hear about today, I think, in religious narratives about the Black race being from Ham, which is tied to Africa, right? But if you thought of yourself of other religious people in the book outside of the Hamitic part and knew that your people in all these other regions and then moved over the place over time, you might think of things a little different. But this is the biased idea that I get from it. I'm not going to persuade you or nothing. I'm just going to throw that out there. So anyways, though, right underneath that on page 28, it says Black and More. We already broke that down many times. Tropology. I want to say trapology, right? So I said it right. Tropology. I'm going to say it like that. Tropology. In ancient Christian texts. Say again. Tropology. I always mess it up. They get me tongue-tied, especially when I'm drinking liquor. Mythology and the chapter overview. Original sin, the Hamitic curse, and the Black and More imagery. This is when they painted a picture. See, you feel me? I guess a swarthy picture, not in the complexion context, but in a derogatory, negative, you feel me, context, and that's why they lineage has to be whitewashed. By the way, I'm just throwing that out there. But anyways, the English Black and More, the Black Bride, the Song of Songs, and the justification by faith alone. The emergence of justification by faith alone. Read it. Go ahead. The Song of Songs and the Christian tradition. The blackness in English commentaries on the Song of Songs. Racial ethnicity in the English commentaries on the Song of Songs. She conclusion and all that. She did 100 something pages, almost 200 pages, dissertation on the breakdown of what happened. I think you need to go check that out. And she ain't talking about Indians, by the way. Feel me, God? That's why I'm going to start using the word black more than Negro, because I know that there's some Indians that got labeled Negro and been, you know what I mean, disclassified from, you know what I mean, God, the indigenous side, and they're labeled Negro, so that term does affiliate.
You're talking about American.
Yeah, so I'm saying American Indians, they've been labeled Negroes, free people of color, right? I can't front. I got that side, that happened to my side of the family too, you feel me? But at the same time, I know that these folk who mixed in with these people or lived amongst these people, in some cases, just to put it out there like that, were labeled Negroes prior. Blackamoor, Ethiopian, and then later African, because of this mythology of the ham thing in the Bible. In my conclusion of just giving you that part, we're going to slide. Go check it out. Again, go Google to wash a blackamoor white. Shout out to that sister Tamara. Let's pull up the next chart real quick. And we're going to, in a 90, if you let me know what you think, we're going to get out of here actually a little bit earlier tonight, bro. I ain't mad at that. You feel me? Hell Negro Part 3. You feel me?
Yeah, try to keep it an hour and 10, 15 minutes. You got the hour of music.
Yeah, indeed. We gonna slide. I'm sliding down south tonight anyway, so you know, let's get down. I gotta get some places early and shit. You feel me? For the weekend, hit slide, tap in a little bit. Here we go. And this is what we're gonna talk about too. You can Google this. You feel me? You can Google me. You feel me? Like you can Google theatomousparty.com right now. Put that in your browser bar as well, and give us a little love and just check out what we got going on with our social organization. Shout out to Maroonville. Shout out to Aboriginal Wall Street. Shout out to my Lucian Macario. The devil, obviously American Maroon shit all day. Feel me? In our mentality of things. Because the autonomous mind and all is mine. So all will be autonomous. You feel me, guy? Oh, that's a new one, dog. You like my bar? Go give you a little juice. Yeah. I said, okay, you behind me. We'll say it again. I said, autonomous mind and mine is all is autonomous. Something like that shit. I can't. It's recorded though. I'm in the booth. I'm live, freestyling. Don't ask me to do that. You know how that go. But anyways, though, the devil and the one drop rule. Racial categories, African Americans, Blackamoors, and the U.S. Census. You know what I'm saying? Free people of color in the U.S. Census. Because this is where I always want to go to. Funny enough, slide up, because see how they put that in the top. But when we get to the contents of this joint, very interesting. They're not using the term African American. Because see, that term is a newer term. So whoever decides to put it in this manner, it throws you off if you ain't paying attention. Like words can change. But you got to look at the timeline when the words are being changed to understand what's going on. Sleight of the hand type shit. So introduction, treatment of mixed race people. That's the mulattoes. Again, last week we did mulatto kings. The first African American or Blackamoors and the first mixed race mixing. As we talked about last week with mulatto kings. Mulattoes, black by law, that's that one drop rule. Yeah. And it's a study of contrast, exclusion of mulattoes, and from the divorce, the new race of men, the census, and the mulatto category in 1850 to 1910. Proposals for multiracial category, critiquing the discourse. Oh, there he goes, of course. I have to recognize and respect it because that's what it is. That's the impact it's had on us. That one drop rule. One blood. I can't even do it. Either way, though, the misapprehension of the historical context, the misrepresentation of the one drop rule, Gotanda's theories of racial purity, objective and subordination in recognition, the one drop rule, and buying into the system of racial domination. Lessons from South African. Interesting. They must went through something similar to over there in any situation. Everybody got their plights. I just know about mine. I'm lying, I know about a little bit more than that. But still, I can say without capping that I know enough that this one drop rule is something that all of our folk need to put our hands on and pay attention to. It's not even a hype thing because it's still affecting us today from people they label black, Negro, colored, and all the groups that got labeled underneath these categories and got disenfranchised from their nationalities and disconnected to their family trees. Maybe because they were deemed a mulatto, or technically because of the mixtures, there are a mulatto somewhere down the line. As they say, 1/8. You know what I'm saying? What's that? An octoroon? I ain't monkeying around. Or a quadroon. Or the mulatto is the two different nations of people having a child together. So you know how that works. Different tribes of people, different cultures, shit like that coming together. So y'all creating a Creole child just off doing that. They mix. But however the case might be, go check that out. The Devil in the One Drop Rule. Read it on your own time. Because surely these kind of sources we giving you really ain't time for you to read them with anybody else. You need to read them and get it for yourself. And then God, I'm gonna put one more thing up there. I'm gonna get a little cryptic with it. With these Marano, Ladino, you feel me? Lasando, Sephardic Jews that were coming over here. Feel me? Converso, Marano, what they was into. Give me it on the big screen. Then we're gonna let 90 can sign out. We'll slide out of here. I went and got this book last weekend. You know, every time I see these books like this, anything that say the Kabbalah, because when people ask, you know, what's the creed, Mac? I tell you, I'm Kabbalistic, so I always grab different books from time to time dealing with anything Kabbalah, because Kabbalah means tradition, secret. You know, I mean, some people say sacred or occult, whatever you want to say, esoteric. You know, themes of things. And I've been saying something, so I'm gonna put this person who the author. I didn't even remember to tell you that first. Forward, and it's gonna say Zev Ben Shaman Halevi. All right, so boom, real quick, just a little quick slide, real quick. The Safahar Zohar, which is a book you can go check out too, or the Book of Splendor is the most famous title of Kabbalistic literature. So when I say Kabbalah, you're just talking about traditions, but there's different books, particularly like I just mentioned, dealing with that. And it's the Kabbalah is esoteric aspect of Judaism. So the esoteric side of that, they got a lot of information on. That's why I like to read it. You know what I mean? Just to get, you know, got Melchizedek and my people. I always tell you my people is, and that's why I got, because as soon as I read the first page, it had it and it said it, and I was like, there he is. There goes my dog. Is that my dog? Let me go and tell you what he said about my dog. Let me see what my dog. I'm telling you who my character is in the book. So I'm giving you who he is. I'm laying that out. The Sefer HaZohar, or Book of Splendor, is the most famous title in the Kabbalistic literature. Kabbalah is the esoteric aspect of Judaism dating back in various forms to the initiation of Abram by Melchizedek around 1800 years before the Common Era. Melchizedek, who it was said had neither father nor mother, indicating his non-material nature, is, according to tradition, a manifestation of Enoch. Enoch is mentioned briefly in the Old Testament, but Jewish legend describes his life in detail as the only righteous person in a then wicked world. That was my remix. He was taken up into the higher realms during a deep meditation and shown the mysteries of existence. These secrets, given to Adam by the archangel Raziel, have been lost because of the willfulness and lessons of human beings. The Zohar contains fragments of the teaching, or Torah, that had been forgotten. Enoch, which means the initiate. Shout out to my adepts out there. Founded the first school of the soul. He taught about the nature of existence, the purpose of life, and what could be said of the Godhead. When his mission was complete, he was transfigured to become the great being Metatron, the teacher of teachers, who could appear anywhere in a time and space and instruct such spiritual candidates as Abraham and others. I ain't gonna go into it. Metatron, they like Transformers. Plug, that's a plug for them. The movie's out right now. Feel me? Nature of the Beast. Govern your natural side. What that boy, what's that boy, everybody be mad at, you know what I'm talking about, man. He be, I should know this man's name right. That's bad. He's so popular. He get in trouble with everybody, all the rappers and stuff. Charleston White, thank you, bro. He said some real shit the other day, though. You know what I'm saying? He said some real shit. Sometimes even the man that go crazy, and people say that, they can say some real shit from time to like, hey, Kanye West said some real shit. I gotta keep it real. He said some real shit. You feel? I'm gonna keep it 100. I ain't gonna say I agree with everything the man said. Some people be all or nothing. I look at what you say. I'm gonna pay attention to your actions. Does that back up what you're doing? Okay. Anyways, exactly. But at the same time, though, Charleston White said some real shit the other day. He said, a man ain't all the same as people like to make, and women ain't all the same. Humans ain't all the same. Because once you get past your nature, you feel me? You discipline yourself past the nature of your physical. You start to think of things and beyond that. It's meta to me. Nine ether. It's meta to me. That's beyond. I mean, it's beyond in Hebrew. Meta. Tap in with me.
Honor. Until next time, El Negro, Maroons, Indigenous, we gonna keep it the same. Honor.
That's the Lucia Macario, you heard me. Maranatha. God. Maranatha. Here's it. Peace, y'all. Till next time. Thriller.